Now that we have the pseudocode for the question, let's start Eclipse and create the program. So I'm going to double click on Eclipse. I will choose the default workspace. Eclipse is loading in the background. And now it's up and running. Inside my project, I'm going to create a new package, which is called session 2, which will contain all the programs we write for session 2. And now let's create a class called sample question cookie. Now we have sample question cookie, and the first thing we need to do is to write the main method. As we write the main method, as we have a skeleton, it's always a good practice to add Java doc comments as well as here for the method. Okay, so here we have this Java doc method, and I'm just going to put a program for calculating cookie ingredients. And entry point for ingredient calculation. Once I have this framework up, I'm going to copy the pseudocode into this Java program. Now that you can see, because this is pseudocode, so it's all wrong for now, right? Now, for get number of cookies from standard input, we need to go to sample files and copy the input statements from there. So I'm going to go to payroll and copy this scanner and name and get. Remember, we need to get number of cookies. I'm going to define this number of cookies. How many cookies do we want to make? And don't forget to change this definitions to the number of cookies. This comments to weak cookies needed. And we're going to get an integer. Once we got the integer, then we need to define integer, number of sugar, integer, number of butter, and integer, number of flour. And the reason we have this error message is because we are missing semicolon. But if you do not know, because right now I know this error is caused by without a statement without a semicolon. But what if you don't? Note that Eclipse actually providing you with some help. You can see the first error, syntax error, insert semicolon to complete this statement, right? So this is a good aspect of using IDE. A smart IDE sometimes will give you suggestions on what you can do. Now, we still see errors. So what is the issue? Cannot convert from double to int, because here is a double, right? And because this is double, we cannot convert this double into an integer of number cup of sugar. That's a problem that we encounter, and this is the error caused by compiler, caught by compiler. Compiler recognized there is an issue and warned us this is wrong. So for this reason, I need to change this to double, as well as here. And finally, we will do a print. I'm going to copy this over just to save myself some work. And enclose it. And in order to make sure, in order to make sure the user understand what you are printing, it's always a good practice to add some comments, some string literals, like here, number of sugar. Otherwise, when you print out, user will not know which one is sugar, which one is the butter, and you will end up with too much butter or too much sugar. This is how we completed this question. And now go back to the programming process. We enter the code, converted the code for pseudocode into Java code, and start compile it. During the process of entering the code, IDE helped us find some compiler errors, which saved us some work in correct the errors during compilation. So right now I can compile it without any issue. Now, the next step is to run the program with test data and correct runtime error found while running the program. Let me run this. And let's say I need 48 cookies. Am I getting the right number? Apparently, yes. So this is the first process that we run the program with test data. But just one set of test data usually is not enough. What if because this statement actually has an issue. Now, as I run this again, and let me type in 24. Now, 24 is half of 48. So I should expect to see 0.75 for sugar, 0.5 for butter, and 1.3 something for flour. But let's see whether I'm getting the right result. And which is not correct, because I'm actually using the wrong direction. So here I need to change it. It should have been number of cookies divided by 48, not 48 divided by number of cookies. Oops. So you can see this is how it works and how it failed, how it may fail. And now if I enter, let me still input 48. It should give me the correct answer, but this time let me input 24. Let's see what the result is. Now, finally, we get sugar is correct, half of 1.5, and the flour is correct, half of 2.75. But butter is 0, 0. Why? And look at the string, look at the expression. Number of cookies is integer, and 1 is integer, 48 is integer. So the calculation here is actually integer divided by integer. So the result is an integer division. You are dividing 24 by 48 based on integer division, which is 0. That's why we are getting 0, 0 here. And in order to change this in order to avoid this issue, we need to explicitly tell Java, this is a double expression, not an integer expression. The way we do it is by adding a 1.0, by adding a 0.0 after 1 to forcibly convert this into a double expression. So now if I run this, 24, I'm getting the correct result. So back to the program process. That's what we mean by run the program with test data for input and correct any runtime error found while running the program and validate the result of the program. So again, what we have been doing, once we create the class, we will first create the void main, the public static void main method. We will add the java.comments so that we have a good framework. Once these are done, then we enter the pseudocode. And note here, the pseudocode itself, when we create a pseudocode, we already divide this into 3 blocks. First is to get the input, second is calculation, and third is output. And when you create a Java program, remember you need to use appropriate blank line to divide between these blocks so that users can clearly see you are doing things one at a time, one block at a time. This is the input, this is the calculation, this is the output. And in front of each block, add some comments so that users understand what each block is about. And we have informations regarding comment usage prior. I hope you will come back and review these sessions. And finally, we need to use proper usage of indentation. Indent and use blocks. Here we are doing this indent. A method is a block inside the class, so we have some indentation. This code block is inside a method, so there's one more indentation. Each indentation in our case is 4 characters. Okay, so this is how we start doing a programming, how we follow program process, and eventually how we write a readable program.